right. So Charles, can we just start out? Will you just give us a little bit of a taste of who Dr. Charles Simmons is? Give us a little intro.
Absolutely. Well, man, I really appreciate just this opportunity, being with you all, man. I love the Texan Church family, and I know I speak for all the listeners and those who are part of TIC already, and those who will be a part. We thank God for you, Tyler, and the fact that you listened, accepted, and followed through with the call to develop this with those whoever else played a part into that. I know it's been a lifesaver and a game changer for my church and many other churches as well. So I want to first start by saying, hey, I appreciate you all for that. And my name is Dr. Charles Simmons Jr. And I pastor Connect Church. I'm a church planner, and I pastor Connect Church. We planted in 2019, April 2019 in Conway, Arkansas. And now we are planting another location in Little Rock, Arkansas. And that's probably about a 35 to 40-minute drive between campuses. So we're planning there. And man, it's just been a really exciting journey. I've been married for 16 years to my awesome wife, Demetrius. We call her D Simmons, and I have one son. He's 9 years old. His name is Bryson, and two daughters, Sierra and Kiera. And then I have now two, believe it or not, grandchildren. My oldest daughter has my 1-year-old grandson. His name is Dennis Jr. And then now probably about, I guess, 1 week old grandson. His name is Dior. So yeah, man, just been an exciting journey, and been an amazing journey thus far.
Yeah. So will you share with us what got you into ministry?
Yeah, I really kind of had this experience, years ago, where I kind of lived like this different kind of lifestyle at that particular time, and I was really, to be honest with you, far away from way far away from Jesus. And there was this one particular guy who during that time never gave up on me. Like, he invited me to church one time, and he never gave up on me. No matter what I did, he kept knocking on my door. And I'm not talking about a short amount of time. I mean, for a whole year. This is no joke. For a whole year, this guy loved on me. Just the fact that he constantly knocked on my door for a whole entire year, he really expressed to me how God could love us, even someone as messed up as me. And so, man, I ultimately gave my life to Christ. And after walking alongside him for a few months, I really felt the call to walk into ministry. And so I came back to, went back to Southern Arkansas University and started what could have been essentially my first church plant in 2004. I started a college ministry on the campus of Southern Arkansas University, and in less than 6 months, it just kind of blew up. It was a small campus, around 4,000 people or so, maybe 5,000 at the most. But we were almost 10% of that. We actually had around 370 something people in 6 months, and I think that was just kind of God's stamp of approval on what it was. That I was doing. So here I was, somebody who was messed up in one season, and a whole year later leading a group of people into the same love that I had experienced. And that's kind of got me into ministry.
Yeah, and how long ago was that? You've come a long way in a fairly short amount of time.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. That was in 2004.
Okay.
So in 2004, I accepted my call to Christ. In 2002, that's the experience that happened with him. And then in 2003 was just kind of like a year of development and growth. In 2004, that's when ministry started for me. So yes, it has been kind of a short amount of time considering some of the things that I've done. Now this is our sixth church plant.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm super excited to get to sit down with you, because you are wise beyond your years. You have so much that you're able to share, and some of the experiences that you have gone through as you've planted those churches. Tell us a little bit about Connect Church. Like who is Connect Church?
Yeah, sure. Well, simply put, our mission at Connect Church is really to connect as many people possible to this transformed life through Jesus. And we really kind of get that theological conviction from John 10 and 10, where Jesus steps on the scene and says, "Hey, I came that you may have life, and not just a regular life, or not just a life beyond or below potential, but a life to the full, right? A life more abundantly." And so, in Matthew chapter 9, you hear this story where Jesus talks about he's healing all of these sicknesses and diseases. He's teaching throughout the synagogues, and there he has this moment where he sees the crowd, and the Bible says he has compassion upon on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. They were harassed and helpless, distressed and despair, confused and aimless, like sheep without a shepherd. And then he says, well, here's the answer to that. The harvest is plentiful, right? The laborers are few. Pray to the Lord of the harvest that he may send his laborers. So that's kind of like our theological conviction behind Connect Church, because with that scripture, we get a picturesque portrait of what happens when the sheep are disconnected from the shepherd. And so our mission, or we feel like God has kind of set us out on an assignment to connect the sheep back to the shepherd.
Yeah.
And that's hence the birth of Connect Church.
Yeah. And what type of demographic are you reaching? Is it mostly young folks, or are you hitting all generations? Like who
Yeah.
connects at Connect Church?
Yeah, we actually have a pretty diverse group of people that we're actually reaching. But our largest demographic is probably between the ages 23-ish to around 60. So yeah, so about 23 to 60-ish, or 55. That's probably our largest age demographic. And then we're actually kind of around 60-40 as it relates to Caucasian and African American. So it's kind of like a pretty diverse group of people at the moment. So we've been blessed with that.
I love that. That's awesome to hear. So can you tell me, when did you guys start using Text in Church? When did Text in Church enter the picture for you?
Oh man, you're not gonna believe this, but I started using Text in Church, man, way back in 2015. I think it was generally around that time. It probably, I don't know exactly when you all started, but at least I don't think it was that far after you all started.
No, you're one of our original users for sure.
Yeah, I thought so, man. So started back then, and that was when I was pastoring a church called the Rock Church at that time, and that was a church plant here in Conway, Arkansas as well. And then I left in 2017 and planted a church. Excuse me, not planted a church. Went and pastored. I was a campus pastor for Darius Daniels at Chang's Church in New Jersey, and introduced. Prior to that, introduced the executive pastor to Texan Church, and so it was implemented there, and they're still using it. And so we were able to see it not just work for our size church. When I in Conway, there was around 80 people, but we was also able to see it work for that size church, which is way over 8,000. So Texas Church has worked for for all sizes, and I've been able to kind of see that on the front end.
Yeah, and would you mind just share, what are some of the most powerful ways that you guys are using Text in Church?
Yeah, I think for us as a church planner, I think one of the most powerful ways that we've been able to use this is to help initially build out our launch team, and we've done that in different ways. We have been able to utilize the text, the keywords to the number that we have, and so we're able to put people in a particular group. We're even doing that now with our Little Rock, as we're in the pre-launch stage of our Little Rock campus. So they text the word there, and we're able to build a relationship, immediately started building a relationship with them. I think that's probably one of the most powerful things as a church planner, is how we've been able to use that to kind of create this cohesiveness and go ahead and build relationships even before we ever even launched. And then we also have used Text in Church to actually just kind of build up our team, even prior to lunch. So initially getting them into the group, getting them connected with us, but then after that, continually to build them up and even in a sense just kind of create this this family connection before we ever before we've ever even launched off. So that's kind of some of the most powerful ways we've used it somewhat previously with our Conway location, and presently with our Little Rock location. And I'm really excited about what's getting ready to come up next.
Yeah, we'll share with that. What is next that you guys have on the horizon for you?
Well, we've been out we've been online for over a year, right? We've been actually online for over 15 months. And so we're finally at the place where we are getting ready to re-enter into the Conway, our Conway campus. And so we are being able to utilize that whole plan your visit, plan your experience. We've been able to use that tool on our website. And so basically now we are able to give people this option where they can go onto our website. They can click on the pop-up bubbles or the landing pages, put their information in there, and we're able to immediately kind of create an experience for them even before they actually come to the church. And that we wanted that to happen whether or not they're coming physically, or whether or not they are going to be even viewing online. And so they go to our website. They are able to click on plan your experience, and from there they enter in their first, last name, their email address, and then they're able to choose which campus and which service, which date they're going to attend, what campus they're going to attend, whether it's online, whether it is Conway, and we're able to kind of plug in there that Little Rock is launching in 2022. So it's right there. And then, after they submit, then we have one of our connections team members that immediately gets it. They immediately get a text from that particular person. We review their information, and then we're able to immediately start communicating back and forth with them, so that, again, we can give them a VIP experience, whether it's online or whether it's in person.
One of the things that I keep hearing from you is you don't see Text in Church as a communication tool. It seems like you see it as a ministry tool. Like, this is an opportunity to build real, lasting, true relationship, not just simply yell out information. Like, every time there's a listening aspect of it. So you want to hear what they have to say, and then you do ministry back at them. I love that. That's how we designed it. That's how we hoped that it would be used, because it's not just simply a communication tool. There's lots of texting providers out there. What we hope to do is to actually do ministry through text message, through email, through your website, and there's so many incredible ways that we're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Simmons, let's shift gears here a little bit. You have you guys do a VBS, and you've leveraged Text in Church to help with that. Can you unpack that a little bit? What was it like before, and then what is it like now that you're leveraging Text in Church to help in that process?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you asked about that. That was something that's been kind of new for us as it relates to VBS. So we're actually doing it at our Little Rock campus. That's the new campus. So we aren't familiar with them in the area. They aren't familiar with us. And so we needed to kind of do something to make sure that we go ahead and start building bridges and build a connection with them. And so, in the past, believe it or not, we've knocked on doors, and we did a little bit of that even now, but it was the reason why it was a little bit different this time, because in the past we've knocked on doors, we had a form, and we even did some surveys with, hey, could you answer these, maybe 5 questions or so forth, and then we would get their information, name, and then we would have to take all of that data and plug it into whatever software system we decided to use. But this time, because of Text in Church, we didn't have to necessarily put all of that footwork in there. We were able to pass out, knock on doors, introduce ourselves, love on them, and then we gave them a card that just kind of gave a little bit of information about the church and gave them the text word, hey, text VBS to this particular number, and you'll be able to get information, and you'll be able to go ahead and pre-register your kids. That for us has been Huge. Why? Because it streamlines a lot of the traffic that could possibly come on the first day. We already have them in the system, but it also allows us to go ahead and build relationships. So prior to VBS, I can let them know, even like, for instance, this week, this is the week before, we're able to send out a text and say, hey, first name, Caroline or something. I just want you to know VBS is 1 week away. We're really excited about spending that week with you and your children. And we just want to know if you had any prayer requests. And then they will respond. Now, what does that do for us? This became so huge for us. It gave us, we no longer, it kind of eliminated just this guessing game on how we can meet needs. We're a new church in the area. We want to connect the people past VBS. How can we meet needs? So we had a team that brought all of those prayer requests together. And guess what? Now we're able to kind of compile what's going on in our community, what kind of ministries we can develop past VBS that can be a connecting point. And because I'm already online, so we're able to compile all that information, right? We know how we can best meet the needs in that community, how we can best, with ministries we can develop. And because I'm already online, there are some things I don't have to necessarily pray about preaching. If there are a lot of relational issues, or if there are a lot of marriage issues, if there are a lot of people who feel a certain way, maybe depressed or mental health issues, then I know that I can pray to God, find theological convictions, and actually develop messages that I know are going to hit the heart of the people who I'm actually ministering to. Why? Because we were able to compile just this simple question, how can we pray for you? And now we have it compiled in Texan Church. So, man, that's just been a game changer with VBS and then beyond VBS.
Yeah, because VBS is just this one event. Right?
Right.
Like that's not the goal. The goal is,
right.
We want some people to come there, but we want long-term life change. And,
right.
And that happens through those follow-up processes, through learning from them, to be able to model or to pivot so that your ministry is hitting the needs of the people in that community. I love that approach because you're using your ears. And I think as church leaders, that's something we have to really do often. It's not about what we can say. Sometimes it's what we can hear, and then we can speak into that. But only if we have the ears to listen first. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's incredible. What proof do you have? And we've talked about this a little bit as we were preparing for this. But how do you know that Texan Church has actually helped in this VBS, other than and then through those prayer requests, and that is a lot. That's a big way. But numerically, has it actually helped you guys as well?
Yes, yeah, it actually has. Well, for one, we started out with 0 people. We couldn't get anybody to and we couldn't get anyone to actually sign up. So here's the thing: we couldn't get anyone to just kind of go and to this particular link. You see, like, for instance, as an example, you may hear this in we may put it in a video reel, like a pre-service announcement, or maybe I knocked on your door. Well, it's hard to say, go to connect.church.planning.center.such and such and such. And sometimes it's even more difficult to say, to simply go to our website /VBS. It's a lot easier for them to just text a word. So prior to then, trying to get them just to go to a link, nothing happened. So our team couldn't really prepare as much. We just didn't have a good gauge. But now, after we did some canvassing, and after we made it simple to where they can just kind of text a word, VBS, now we have, I believe, 20-something parents signed up, and I don't know how many kids, because it's like it's at least 3 kids per parent. So I know that for a fact. Some parents have 7 kids, some have 5 kids. So we went from not being able to really get a good gauge to now being able to see, okay. And then this Sunday we have a kickoff party, so that parents will have an idea on whose hands their kids are going to actually be in the care of. And we'll have people on site out there ready to sign up. But we'll also, let them know, hey, all you got to do is text right now. Text that keyword, and boom, we'll get you pre-registered right now.
Yeah, so the big takeaway from that is just simplicity.
Yeah,
really,
just simplicity.
You didn't change a whole lot. You just made it easier for them to be able to access the registration form.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Simplicity is something that we always talk about on our team. Simplicity always wins. So the more simple you can make it, and simple doesn't mean easy. Oftentimes getting simple is hard. But the simpler we can make things for the people that we're doing ministry with, the better off we're going to be, because it's simple always wins.
Yeah.
I love that. And would it be all right? You shared an email with me that you received from somebody at your church. Would it be all right if I read that and then we
Yeah,
talk about that just a minute?
absolutely.
Okay, so you received this email from it sounds like a 77-year-old woman who's a part of your community there. So she says, "Thank you, Pastor. I've been praying for Connect Church ever since you joined our staff. I'm excited for this outreach. I've been asking God, what could I do besides pray as I'm 77? So I'm looking forward to VBS. I will serve snacks to the children, praying to God to draw children and parents to check us out and see that we love them. Praying a hedge of protection around the church and our event. God bless you and your family." So how did you get this message from a 77-year-old woman wanting to reach out and help with VBS? That's not the email that the church leaders are getting every single day. How did that happen?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you that you asked that. So we partner. So again, we're a new church. We're at the Conway campus. The Little Rock campus is a new church in that area. And so one of the things that we did was we developed partnerships to try to help fund, in a sense, that movement, not just financially, but also to resource that movement, not just financially, but also people wise. And so what that lady was expressing as far as going on staff is, I went on staff with First Baptist in Little Rock, and they pretty much kind of brought me on staff as they actually made a position for me as a church resident church planner. And so when we pitched the idea of doing VBS at Connect Church this year, we pitched it to their congregation as well. And so a lot of them were older and were just kind of wondering how in the world can, well, how can we be a part of this? Or, what good could we kind of, do? Where can our hands actually play a part in? And so we created a link basically where they could actually sign up. And so this was so good. Texan Church that actually integrates with Planning Center. So we were able to plug the integration together. So this is what ended up happening. Although they filled out a link, the volunteers filled out a link through Planning Center, right? We were able to integrate it with Texan Church. So once they filled out that form, then and once it synced up, Texan Church picked it up. So once it picked it up, it automatically created a workflow so that they will automatically get an email from me saying, "Hey, thank you for signing up for VBS. We're really excited about the families that we're going to connect with," so forth and so on. And here's the deal. A lot of times you have softwares or you have systems where you can send out an email, right? But if they reply back to that email, you're in trouble. You can't do anything with it. Well, the way that the workflow is developed through Texan Church, and I just love your system, is I was able to put my personal email in it. So because I wanted, if they replied, to reply back to me. And so that's exactly what happened. She got the email from me saying, "Hey, thank you for signing up. I'm really excited about the families that are going to be connecting. And we're just going to look forward to what God is going to do." She replied back and said, "Hey, Pastor," and got the email saying, "Hey, Pastor, man, I've been excited ever since you came on staff. And I was kind of wondering pretty much what it is that I'm going to be able to do. But now I see I'm going to be serving snacks, so forth and so on." And so, I was able to reply back to her, and we were able to even build a relationship from two different congregations serving one purpose, all because the systems was able to be automated, in sync, and all kind of work together to make that happen.
Yeah, that is a beautiful thing. I love that story. So thank you for sharing that with us. Let's go dive in just a little bit deeper on your Little Rock, on the church plant that you're doing there, and how you leverage Texan Church to help build and launch, or build and create relationship with your launch team. So can you let us know a little bit, like how did that function? How did you leverage Texan Church to build that launch team?
Yeah. So what we did is, where we created a group. And we attached a keyword to it. So right now, it's the keyword is rock, because we're in Little Rock. And so what happens is they're texting the word rock to that particular number. And after we gather here's the thing I think that's so important, is we didn't, because it's a new church, there was really no workflow that we could actually create with this, right? We didn't want them to just kind of get some automated stuff and then just kind of be left out there. So once they text their word, their name is automatically put in in the group. Well, then another good thing about the system is that you're able to set out notifications. You can assign it to whatever team member you would like. Because it's still at the early stages, and I still have the capacity right now. I receive those notifications, and my wife receives those notifications. So as soon as we receive a notification that someone has signed up or has shown interest to be a part of our Little Rock launch team, then we immediately contact them. So we've been able to contact them. We immediately start building relationships with them. Oh man, and I can tell you so many stories of how I literally know everyone in our perimeter now, literally everyone in our perimeter, and they have not had a gospel presence there. They hadn't had anyone no church has invited anyone in the area in 2 years. Now I want you to think about trying to make life's decision without ever consulting the God that we know. And so Texan Church is pivotal because of the people that we've been able to talk with. It would have took me forever to knock on those doors and try to go through all of those stories. But because I was able to actually call them, not rush through trying to get to the next door, actually call them, say, hey, you showing interest, so forth and so on. My name is Pastor Charles. And they are blew away. Let me tell you that. They are blew away that the pastor is actually calling them and actually want to know what's going on in their life. And that's how we've been able to start building our launch team there.
Yeah, and so everyone that's listening, I want you to notice what he's done. So earlier he was telling us about, you were sharing with how you use automation and workflows, and that has a role and that has a purpose. That's not what you're doing here. You're slowing down. You're sending out individual messages, having individual conversations, building true, authentic relationships, because these are the folks that are going to help you to launch this campus. So there's no workflow saying, hey, come to church next Sunday. That's not what we're doing here. We're building a launch team, very, very different. But you were able to go from 0 to 7 in just a couple days. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
How you launched this? I love it.
Yeah, we actually have more than that now. So we actually have around I want to say it's around 12 or so. Okay. Yeah, and it's just been a matter of weeks. Yeah.
That's awesome. So congratulations on that, and I want to really highlight how you leverage the tool exactly as it was designed to do. So, we have automation features in there, and there's times for those. But then there's also times where you don't need to automate. You need to build true, authentic relationships, and being just human is the way that we can do that. And so Texan Church allows you to do kind of both, but you are masterful at knowing when to use either one. So we always like to say, don't automate things until you know that it's working in a non-automated way. Like, do it for a while, make sure it's working, and then when you're like, okay, we've got this nailed down, that's when automation can kick in. When you're building a launch team, that's not something you're ever going to get fully dialed in unless you're launching a new campus every 6 months or something. So yeah, you've handled that just masterfully, and I'm super proud of the way that you've done that, and I really appreciate you sharing that with all of the listeners today, because it's super, super important that we get that right. Let's talk about one other area, and this is kind of where Texan Church kind of got its start, is guest follow-up. I know that you've leveraged Texan Church with your guest follow-up. Can you kind of paint a little bit of a picture for us of how did that work originally before you had Texan Church, and how is that now, and kind of what's the results been for you?
Yeah. Initially we were really trying to, let me just say, I think it's just been a game changer for us. The way we've been able to kind of leverage Texan Church to do what it is that we wanted to do. We're Connect Church, and so if we're not connecting, right? People don't want robots; they want relationships. And so if we aren't connecting, then we pretty much not fulfilling what it is that we're trying to do. And so we really kind of wanted to build with our guests this relational equity, especially as a church plant, because we don't have all necessarily the bells and whistles of what an established church would have. And so we need grace in some areas, and sometimes people can look over certain things when they actually know that you care. So we've been able to use Text and Church to kind of ramp up our retention rates as relates to guest follow up. Prior to Text and Church, we were using Google Voice, and we it was it worked for what it did, but it was like so it was not simple at all. We didn't have automated workflows. We didn't have a way to well, it was just way too difficult to try to make it work with someone else's personal cell phone. And see, they had to, sometimes they would accidentally send from their cell phone number, and they would send it to the wrong person. The next thing you know, this person was always calling them or hitting them up on their particular cell phone. It just really kind of started creating problems. And we didn't have like I said, we didn't have an automated workflow, and we was doing all of this kind of stuff from Google Voice and all of these different systems, trying to find some type of way to follow through with guest follow up. So there was no keywords where people could text, or we would make up we would make up a keyword, but it wasn't an automated system.
And so can you share some numbers with us of what was your retention rate? How many first time guests were coming back for a second visit before Text and Church, and then once you implemented Text and Church, was there a difference?
Oh yeah. Prior to COVID, there was a well. Yes, there was an absolutely huge difference. Our back door was pretty, I guess you can kind of say, wide open as when we were trying to funnel kind of gets through our particular system prior. With Text and Church, we were able to retain pretty much maybe three and a half, 3 or 4 gifts out of every 10. Prior to Text and Church, we were only doing maybe every one. And I always wonder how our system comes up with like 1.8 or 1.5. Like maybe we was able to get someone's whole body and maybe their legs wanted to stay, but I don't know. But yeah, numbers wise, we were able to get like 1.5, 2 maybe prior to Text and Church. Now, and that sometimes we were able to even jump that even higher, 6 and 7 out of every 10 versus the 2. Now here's the thing, that sometimes that doesn't sound like huge numbers until you think about if you're a congregation of 50 and you were able to retain 2 in a whole year. You didn't double it almost your particular size. You easily go from 50 to 100 or 50 to 75, just like that. And so I was glad to see those numbers too. They were scalable, but I was glad to see those numbers because they were real numbers that we were able to maintain as a church plant.
Well, and Charles, those numbers reflect national averages. Depending on which study you're looking at, the national average is between 10 and maybe 20% of first-time guests will return.
Oh, wow.
And that's about where you were. That's about where you were prior to Text and Church. And then when you introduced Text and Church, you popped up to, it sounds like maybe 30, close to 40%.
Yeah, close to 40%. Yeah.
That's fabulous. So you nearly doubled, or maybe a little more than doubled, your retention rate just by making that switch. And again, it's not that you're doing anything really truly revolutionary. You're simply loving on your first-time guests. You now have a system in place that makes sure, that ensures that every first-time guest is going to feel known, noticed, and loved. And that's language that we use here at Text and Church, and I know you use those same words sometimes. That is the secret sauce. Like, people want to feel connected, and you have really figured that out, and you're doing it in really awesome ways. So thank you so much for sharing that. Let me ask you just a few more questions. I want to kind of understand your mindset as you decided or still continue to decide to use Text and Church. What is the problem that you're trying to solve by using Text and Church?
Yeah, the problem that I think the biggest problem that we're trying to solve is really like being consistent. And I really kind of feel like that shows that you actually care. You know what I mean? On the people side, like being consistent, being able for people to know that we'll randomly send out a prayer request, and that when you give us your prayer request, I'm able to actually reply with your first name with your particular prayer request. And then when I see you in person, I'm able to say, hey, how is that situation going on with your child that we've been praying about? So I think on the people side, that. I think on the system side, we were really having problems with consistency. We were having problems with a system that was kind of simple yet and easy, yet kind of covered everything that we needed to cover. It was easy to use, and we were definitely having a problem with an automated kind of guest follow-up system. So those are the things that I think that generally we were trying to accomplish, having been able to have an automated guest follow-up system where we could put workflows in, and it would take the stress off of having to even have so many staff or so much personnel to manage the gift follow system, but also putting so much weight on the personnel that we do have, so they don't have to send out, they don't have to think, oh, I got this email to send out, or I got this text to send out. We can automate the system, and then we can make it personable by the communications that we're able to start with that.
Yeah, and can you take me to the moment when you realized that Text in Church was actually working to solve those problems for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said a little bit about it before. That people, even as we're building our launch team now, they're really surprised when they hear from me. But the truth of the matter is, they're really surprised to hear from anybody. When we started actually hearing guests talk about how surprised that they were, that someone from our team actually reached out to them, and actually didn't just, then just kind of leave them. Oh, we glad you all came. We'll talk to you if you ever come back again. No, we're actually able to actually stick with them for 30 something days or so, because of the system. So that's one big thing. And then when we are actually able to, when it's not just me, and when my team is actually talking about, hey, how did such and such turn out at the school? Because I know we've been praying for her family. Or when my team actually starts feeling connected to the people, whether they are very active at the church or whether they are not, from simply seeing the prayer requests that are coming in, that's when I knew, yeah, this system is working and things are really starting to mesh together, especially for our mission.
Yeah, and will you share with us just a little bit of what is life like now that Text in Church is being used to solve some of these problems? How has that changed things for you and for Connect Church?
Yeah, sometimes sometimes when you are shooting vision or when you're talking about get follow up, you're just kind of shooting it in the wind and you're hoping one day that stuff is going to come together. But now we're confident. Our team is confident. They're confident that they can actually work with this system, right? They don't have to feel overwhelmed because it's something that they can't figure out, that it's not such a learning curve that you can't figure it out and that you can't teach it. So we're not bogged down with just one person. It's easily teachable. But the second thing is we're confident with how effective the system actually is. We feel, now that we can actually fulfill our mission. Again, connecting as many people possible to this transformed life through Jesus. And we can do that. We can eliminate the cracks, and we can make sure that people are, as the mantra in a sense for Text in Church, that the world has stolen because it's so great. We can make sure that people are known, noticed, and that they're actually loved on.
Yeah. And last question for you, Charles. If there's a church leader who's out there who's sitting on the fence, they're considering using Text in Church, but they're just not yet convinced, what would you share with them?
I would probably tell them to ask themselves a question. I talk to a lot of people that they don't take any steps at all because they're too busy wondering about if this is going to work, or is this going to be too much, or are we going to be able to afford this and that? And I would really tell them to ask themselves, how much would it be worth? Like literally, how much would it be worth not to have to worry about your guests? No, like how much would it be worth to know that someone's daughter, right, someone's mother, someone's son is going to come to your church? God's going to trust you with their presence, going to trust their life for that brief moment into your hands. How much would it be worth to know that you have a guest follow-up system that is going to allow you to stress less, and is going to allow you to be a good steward to properly manage those which God allows to cross over your threshold? And that's what I would tell them. I would tell them to consider that. How much would that be worth? That to know that those lives that you all are going to touch and that your team is going to touch are worth far more when you marry the good news, which is the gospel, with a effective follow-up system. You know, I would tell them to consider those type of things and think about, when you start thinking about, can we afford it? Will our people be able to learn it? Those type of things. Think about the face of that person that's going to be coming to your church or coming to your ministry, and how much would it be worth to know that because of an effective system, they're not going to be dropped through the cracks. That's probably what I would say. I would tell them to consider.
Yeah, I love that, Charles, and thank you so much for sharing that. And you know, the other piece that I'll add is, those are real questions that lots of church leaders have. Like, you know, is it going to be worth it? Is there value? Can I handle the technology piece of it? Is it going to work? You know, we give you a trial completely free, because we want to overcome those questions, those objections that you might have. We want you to just try it out and see for yourself, does it work? And then fall in love with it. And at that point, then invest your ministry dollars in a tool that's going to help you to do ministry more effectively, but only if it makes sense for you. So we want to be very clear about that. We want everyone to have an opportunity to test out Text in Church, to fall in love with it, and then to continue using it for years to come, because it's going to allow you to be more effective at what you do. It's going to allow you to do more ministry and spend less time managing all of the technology and tools that have become necessary in today's world. So, Charles, thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing with us and with all of the church leaders that are learning from you. You are an inspiration to me. You're someone I admire so much, and I'm so grateful for your time today. Have an awesome rest of your day.
Man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.